All right, guys, let's get this started. This is going to be how I got 9x my risk and how we went from less than a pip drawdown to about a 5 pip target within the peak of this move. Started out like this, went from this to this to this. And just so you can see that I'm not fibbing, this is my Discord channel. And we can see sent this out at 4:22 a.m. and then at 12:29 and then at 8:22. So let's go ahead and get this thing started off. Remember that 4:22. So how did we get this trade? First things first, we went into our daily bias. So let's break down our daily. First thing we're going to do is pin where we're stuck between. We are looking at, and if you don't know why I'm doing the 50% and all that good stuff, definitely join that Discord. Get with me and we can do some education, whatever. But we're looking at the 50% of this candle. So if we break this down to the 4 hour, I was looking at right here. And the reason I was looking here was this institutional level. Messed that up. This major institutional level of 1,200 for the price inbounds fill, as well as this was an 8-hour, 12-hour setup within our daily. Because remember, if we go back to our daily, we're looking at the 50% of this candle, which puts us right about there. So almost to the T of our 50%. So now let's keep stepping down on our time frames. So if we go to the 3 hour, 2 hour, and then 1 hour, what I was looking for is an inbounds fill of, I wanted price to target entries around about here. And ultimately, we needed price to fill this area. So now that we have kind of our entry zone mapped out, let's go over to where price was and our lower time frames. We're going to put this on the replay tool, and I'm going to show you exactly where I took my wins, where I took my losses, and where I took my entries. So on this trade, we're going to break it down to the 5 minute, because that's where I took my entries. So, had a little technical difficulty there. So we can see when we were watching this live, price came down and made this equal low. Around about, we can see our target areas right below us. So what I would be looking for is an aggressive move against the trend. And then once price trades back up above, we would get in long right about there. So let's see if price gave us that opportunity. So here we can see big move down. Okay, price stayed above that close. All right, are we going to close above? We do not. So at this point, this setup's invalid, and we kind of start looking down here. So let's look at the 1 minute time frame. This would be a very good entry. If you were trading on the 1 minute, we can see equal lows taken out, aggressive move against the trade, trades back above. Now, the reason I go to the 5 minute is the 5 minute is kind of my happiness, my happy zone of low time frame for precise entries, but high enough to avoid the noise. You know, at the 5 minute time frame, think about it. At the 1 hour versus the 15 minute, we have 4 times the data. At the 5 minute to the 1 minute, it's like even better than the 1 hour to the 15 minute. We have 5 times the data. So I stay on the 5 minute. Just wanted to show you that you would have taken a little bit of a loss right here when price disrespects this setup. But when we go back to the 5-minute, as I teach, we can see we have some more lows forming. Okay, so now I'm going to start targeting this area in here and see if we can break. Also, like this candle formation, again, if you don't know what that candle formation is, definitely check it out. So now what I'm looking at is, and remember, relative lows, all that, it's not a science. I would look at this area right here, and I did. So this area broke below. Let's see if it can trade back above. So it trades above. Okay, so we're going to enter right here on the retest. So we'll talk about our take profits at a later part in the video. Our stop loss is going to be, we'll call it 5 pips. And let's see what happens. Price goes right against us and stops us out. That is perfectly fine. So what we do, just pull up a simple notepad here. We're always going to do at least 1 5 risk to reward on lower time frame setups. So for this trade, we strike out and we risk 2% and we lose -2%. And this one had a much higher risk to reward, but we'll get into that. So now what do we have here? Which ironically, just going through this, I kind of noticed talking about, our area moves from this down to here. So now let's kind of see what we have. Okay, so now when this setup was invalidated, we were made some more or less perfect lows here. So now this is where I'm going to be targeting for a setup. And these lows, notice, were made right at that institutional level. And ultimately, in a perfect world, we would get a rejection down to this area to fill that imbalance on the higher time frames. And then boom. So that is exactly what happened. And when you see something like that, we can also pop up here, have major divergence, all in like Flynn on this trade. So again, going to set an entry out there to risk 2%. Price gets us in right there. We see approximately, we'll call it a pip drawdown. And at this point, we set our levels. So we're in, we do a 10 pip stop. And let's talk about targets for a second. So we go back out to the higher time frame because with this strategy, we always have lower time frame targets or lower time frame stop losses and higher time frame entries. So I was targeting around about this setup right in here. Well, let's get my actual entries and adjust this. So we're back. Wanted to be honest and transparent. Like I said, these are the exact levels that I sent out. If we look here, here, and here of my trade that I took on my live account, my personal account. So that is exactly what my stop loss, take profit, everything looked like. So from my entry, I had about a 0.5 pip drawdown for a millisecond, if that. So what you want to do, why do we pick our target area? We can see big move against the trend. This is a significant candle. Again, check our Discord, rejects that. So I was targeting this exact level for this price and bounce fill to that wick. So that is how I got my take profits. So we can see that price just beautiful all day uptrend, never really gives us any reason to go ahead and get out. Personally, full disclosure, everything, I was looking for a second entry off of this level. Arguably, if I wanted it that bad, I would have been in right there, and that is valid, but never got it. I was expecting it to come back and retest, just trickled up all day. Here we go into end of New York, pre-London, or also known as the Asian session, but I don't trade Asian, so it's pretty much New York and pre-London for me. Here we go, maybe giving you a little bit of a scare, definitely trending around, and there we go. We are out, and then price continues to fall, and we got our take profit within less than 5 pips accuracy. So it was a beautiful trade. Now I want to talk about it. You might go, okay, well, yes, you got beautiful accuracy, you got the trade, but you took a loss. Or if I was on a lower time frame or didn't have the expertise, the knowledge, experience, I would have taken maybe 2, 3 losses before you got that trade. But let's look at our risk to reward on our exact trade. So my exact trade, what I personally saw was 9.19x my risk, whether that's 5%, 10%, whatever. So again, I took a loss of 2%, and then I risked 2% again, and I did 9.19 times 2 equals positive 18.38%. We have to minus our 2% loss. So our net on this trade is 16.38% with risk management. This is huge, with proper risk management. So what does that mean? Why is that so important? Point being, when you get these lower time frame setups, and these are our minimum entries, keep that in mind. The average for my personal account is between a 1 to 9 and 1 to 11 risk to reward. So this is pretty average. But when you're getting 16% on an account, what does that mean? That means that if you had a $1,000 account and you risked $20 because you're using proper risk management, this trade would have netted you $163.80. That is huge. That is huge. On a $5,000 account, it's just as great. I can tell you because I used to trade a $5,000 account. On a $5,000 account, you're risking $100 and you're gonna make $819 net. This is huge. This is why people trade lower time frame setups. You can be wrong. When you have a 1 to 9 risk to reward, let's look at that. Risk to reward. So let's say your minimum risk to reward was 1 to 9. So at 1 to 10, you only have to win 9% of your trades to break even, which I can tell you personally from past experience, when you're basing your entry around. Now, if you just did this willy-nilly every time there's a equal bottom, look for a 5%, you'd still probably win 20% of your trades, so you're still profitable. But when you coincide it with a higher time frame entry, a higher time frame reason, I can tell you personally that if you're doing it right, I personally have a win ratio on the lower time frame setups of 40 to 50%. It usually takes me 1 or 2 entries to get what I want, and then that's it. And this is a typical thing for me. is my trade day will usually look like -2%. Maybe let's make it a terrible day, -2%. Let's make it a horrible day. And at this point, I just wouldn't trade the setup anymore. And then I turn around and usually get something like this. That's on a terrible entry. Terrible. That's like getting a 1 to 7 all the time. This trade plan is phenomenal. In my opinion, and if you do the math, getting about a 30-40% win ratio at 1 to 10 is the same thing as getting a 100% win ratio at 1 to 7. Think about that. 1 to 7, when most people say, the golden rule is 1 to 2. So, with that being said, I'm going to cut it here. If you want to be in this Discord and see all these trades as they're happening, again, we saw this entry at 4:22 a.m. I posted that, and we were in this trade at about 4:25. You are still around price. Could have gotten with me, but we were talking about that way before I even, for transparency's sake, posted my loss right here at 3:29, first attempt. So let's see, just all about risk to reward, baby, putting it right there. So anyway, guys, appreciate you. Hoping you stuck with me this far. I need to put out more valuable free educational content just like this, and my full course and my full trading style. So if you would like, comment, subscribe, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Discord. Please join, and let's all make some demo profits together. Have a good one.